Angelina Jolie is here. She is an actress, she is a director, she is a mother, she is a humanitarian with an Academy Award and looks that have led someone like director Clint Eastwood to call her the most gorgeous face on the planet. She is free to do whatever she wants. What she chose to do is to focus on film and family and helping others. She has now written and directed a film for the first time. It is called In the Land of Blood and Honey. Here is the trailer.
Remember how things were before the battles. Just you and me.
I am pleased to have Angelina Jolie back at this table. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to be back.
You said here, this is the cover of Vanity Fair. You talk about, I've never felt so exposed. How does directing make you feel so exposed?
Well, it's the writing as well. I've spent my whole life with somebody else's words in my mouth.
Yeah.
When it comes to film, and now these are my words, and it's I can't blame anything on the director or the final edit. It's all me, and I feel very, very responsible. It's also it's not my politics, but it's because it's not a political movie, but it does have politics in it, and it is the side of politics and the side of the world that I focus on and I care about, and so it is very much me. It is the project that is the most me and where my heart is, and so it is very exposing.
And why is that? Why is it the thing that's the most closest to you and your heart, and when you look at the world today?
Well, I've had the good fortune of being allowed to travel the last 10 years and to work with people in the field and to go to many different places, and I've had an education that has shaped my life, and from the first time to Cambodia to my first war zone in Sierra Leone, and I've been allowed to spend time and really, really get to know people in post-conflict situations and conflict situations, and something that I don't get to do as an actress, and I feel very lucky that they allowed me and trusted me to kind of enter this world.
It does give you a sense to see, you know, to understand what the rest of the world's like, and that there are people who are involved in circumstances not of their own making that have brought a huge amount of suffering.
Yes. And it's the majority of the world suffers in such a
Where
way.
Was there something that put you on that track of being curious and wanting to know and wanting to go for yourself and see what was happening?
Yes. When I started to travel, I started to quickly realize how much I didn't know. When I went to Cambodia, I was shocked at how much I didn't know, and then when I started to research and you know, you open your mind and you realize how much there is that you are sheltered from, especially if you're growing up in America. You have you know, there are wonderful news programs like your own, and there's so much, but there's a lot and Bosnia is a perfect example of it. We went through years of this war really not being told what was going on. No matter how strongly the reporters were fighting to get the information out, we were not pushed and inspired in a way. The American people did not understand the full gravity of what was actually happening
and what was at stake,
and
the consequences of not acting.
That's right.
The whole sense that was said, you know, history will judge badly if we look the other way.
But we did.
But we did, until finally we came to a realization that we had to change. You know, this film. So you set about to go there and to write it and write a story. You know, what was the story you wanted to write? Because you have a love story here, but you also have a broader story about a place and a time and all those emotions that are part of that.
I didn't intend on making a movie. I didn't intend on ever directing. I just sat down as kind of a meditation. I'd written journals or op-eds and thought, well, I work in film, maybe this is a way of kind of expressing a narrative. I was very frustrated with lack of intervention. I was very frustrated to try to understand so many people I met. I thought, oh, if we could just have gotten there sooner, this wouldn't have happened. If we could have just, what can we do? And so I wanted to write a story that would show people that as you're watching it, you're sitting there hoping for something to stop this, and you're watching all these different people, sisters and mothers, fathers, fathers and sons, children, and you're watching all these human beings you can relate to, I hope, and you watch what happens to them over the course of these years, and how decent, relatable people become people you cannot understand, and so primal and so violent, and so and neighbors kill each other, and people are forever damaged, and how does that happen? And so I would hope it would bring out the responsibility to remember Bosnia, learn from it, and understand the importance of intervention.
Tell me the storyline.
The storyline is it starts with sisters and this couple, and it starts with Bosnia before the war, and we tried to show in a very tight period of time, but we tried to show the life of this part of the world. Former Yugoslavia is such an extraordinarily special part of the world, the artistry, the music, the life. So we wanted to show that, and then in a moment, the war starts. And then months later, and not even months later, immediately it escalated, and very quickly people started to get pulled apart, and it was, I think what people will see in it is that the Serbian army it wasn't a haphazard kind of, it was a very organized army, and it was very quickly, people were quickly divided, and there was
genocide.
And there was genocide, and it happened systematically and quickly, and then during the course of the war, all sides took part. There are 161 people, in the ICTY, 160 now after suicide, and they're not all Serbian. They're mostly Serbian. There are people from all sides. What happened to this people that lived as one, these people that intermarried, these people that loved each other and were neighbors? What happened, and what does war do to people? So it's universal. It's happening today. It's happening today around the world.
Can film, do you have some sense of what the power of film might be? Yeah.
I hope with this film that it isn't just a reminder of this time in history, but I hope also I hope people get to know this part of the world, and they get to know people from this part of the world, and they relate to them, and they feel a kinship to them, because I think that's important. And film can do, I think, that. We can send strong messages. But this film in particular, I wanted people to relate and feel and care and connect. And I think these actors are so extraordinary that I think people will do that.
Many actors from the region.
All actors are from the region, and they're all from opposite sides of the conflict. And that was part of the thought behind it. I wrote the script and I sent it to actors from Serbia, from Belgrade, Serbia, Croatia, Bosnian Serbs, Bosnian Muslims, and I thought, if I can get all of them to agree on one story, and we can all agree to do this together, then that in itself will be something. And they did, and they came together as a family, and that is so symbolic of what we all hope for the future of that region.
Since you hadn't done this, and because this is such a powerful subject, and because people understand all the pain that's been suffered there, what was your confirming or ratifying person who said, when you're out there and you're swimming alone and you're in the deep end, and you're trying to write a script for the first time, who said to you, "This is good, keep going, keep going"?
I didn't show it to anybody for a long time.
Not Brad? No.
I eventually showed it to Brad because it was sitting on my desk, and it was this kind of funny project that I was working on that nobody saw.
Yes.
So I sent it with him. He had to do 2 days of press in Japan, and he wrote me an email from Japan and said, I sat up and read your script, and I finished it, and it's pretty good, honey. You
should be proud.
Yeah, he said it's, he was very supportive, but I don't think it crossed either one of our minds that it was then still going to become an actual film. It's still strange for me it's an actual film.
Why is that?
Because I never sat down and said I want to be a director and I want to be a filmmaker or a writer. I didn't.
You had a story you wanted to tell.
I just had a story I wanted to tell, and I had this great excuse in making a movie was my chance to learn about a region and befriend people from the area and have this experience. So it was my great life lesson that I could have this education, have this time, and I love the experience of it, and I love this cast, and I learned so much, and in the process it became a film. But but I'm still very shy about being a filmmaker. That wasn't the intention.
Did you at any point say, my God, I've made a mistake, this is too in over my head? And
Yeah.
and how do you get up in the morning and say, no, I'm going to do another day?
Because the cast, as I said, they're from
because they wanted to see it happen.
Because they wanted to see it happen, because they said it was important, and because they lived in. So if I felt the tension, they have to confront. They take this movie back to their own countries, and they stand by it, and they have to feel that it is. So they're brave enough to try for something, then who am I not to stand with them? And they always. And I felt that they were always guiding me. If I said, I'm worried, are we getting this right? Are we balancing this right? I knew I had to ask that question every day. And every day I was worried. And every day I would make sure we were trying to find the balance, and we were trying to find the balance. And I was never sure we did, but I knew always that my intention was in the right place. And the cast said, even when we had complications, and this region so well, they said, well, welcome to the region.
Exactly.
There's no way you're going to skate through this without controversy and a lot of pressure and sensitivity. And this is a complicated, deeply passionate part of the world, and it's going to be heavy, but it's.
But you feel like that about several parts of the world. I mean, you feel that way about Cambodia. You feel that way certainly about parts of Africa. You feel that way about the United States. I mean, what you have represented, and I guess your UN affiliation is part of that, is in a sense becoming a citizen of the world, becoming someone, who understands that we are, in fact, one.
We are, yes.
What is that in you, that this sense of always, this is as long as I've known you, when you first sat at this table so many years ago, and the respect that we've had, it is this sense that there's somehow something about you that is prepared to find out on your own what some experience is about. You want to know for yourself what it's like.
I do. I think I think we all do. I've been so fortunate that as I said, I was able to. I had a mother that told me,
right.
She loved me and encouraged me to try anything. And when I've had a chance to be able to go to these countries and travel the world, and as I said, I've been allowed in, and people who work on these issues in the field. I was very shy when I first started to go to the field. I didn't want to get anybody's way. There's Doctors Without Borders, UN workers. I don't want to get anybody's way. I don't want to be. I didn't know what to do or how to find my footing.
And you want to be perceived as some movie star who's dropping in.
And I didn't want to put a negative spin on their work. I didn't want to attach. I didn't want them to be, attached to somebody that then made their work seem less serious. So I was always. But they always welcomed me and taught me and educated me, and I'm so grateful for all the people, whether it be American military men or UN officials or refugees or people like yourself who were willing to talk to me and give me that education and talk to me straight and talk to me as an adult and not, and allow me to learn, and so I continue to try to learn.
I also believe, this is me being a psychologist, I also believe that who you are, this sense of adventure that you had, in the sense of you would let no one define who you were in your public or private conduct. That's been an engine for you that served you well and continues to serve you well.
Thank you.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think
it's a wildness, it's an adventure, it's a sense of, this is who I am, and I'll channel this in lots of different ways. And
maybe it's that little punk in me that still feels like you can all come against me, but I'm going to fight for what I believe is right, even if we're going to get into it, and it's going to, So yes.
Others also ask about you, and you've heard this before. How does she do it all? How does she be an actress, an international celebrity, a humanitarian, and now a filmmaker? And most importantly, a companion and a mother. How do you do all that? What's the...
I have a great partner in Brad.
Right.
And we talked a long time ago about how to balance this life and knowing the dangers of working in this field, in this business, and just the stresses of normal life anyway. But we made a decision that we would always take turns working, that we would always travel with each other, that we would never separate for months while one of us is having an experience, an adventure, and being away from the children, and the other one is sitting at home with the children. We decided the only way we're going to be able to do this with this many children, and we have the good fortune to be able to make this choice in our career, is that we stay together, and we experience life together, and we raise these children together. And so we're in New York together with the children.
We're here for your movie, but the
shot,
kids are here celebrating as well.
And when I shot this film, I was with him when he shot Moneyball, and then it was over, and then we all moved together to shoot in the Land of Blood and Honey, and he then would bring the kids to set, and we just so I don't do it all the time. I do some things part of the time, and the other part of the time I'm just at home being a mom. And then for 6 months or however many months I go to work, but I've got a great man who helps me and supports me, and the children are part of my work.
Are your ambitions changing at all?
My ambition has always been to be of use and to feel like I'm doing the right things with my life, like most people. I think, I don't want to be more successful. I don't want more money. I don't want. I want my kids to be healthy, and I want to have a great family, and I want them to be great people. That's my ambition. And along the way, if I can be a part of things in life that I think are important and subject matters that I think are important, or even be a part sometimes of the solution for these big issues that concern me, and then that's wonderful, and then that makes me feel of value. But first, I want to make sure I'm raising the children right.
Do you think that this is the first step in becoming what everybody calls a filmmaker? That you will find something in this process that you want to be able to, as the aforementioned Clint Eastwood is, and several other people, have uniquely been able to, master this in a way that they can tell their own stories, that they can become truly, a filmmaker in every sense of the word. Are you heading that direction, you think? Or is it too early to tell about any of it?
I'm shy to even call myself a filmmaker now. I'm proud of the film, but I don't. I did this because I love this subject matter, and I felt compelled to do it as a human being, not as a filmmaker. And I ended up as a filmmaker because of it. So I don't know if I'll end up feeling that compelled to tell a story in that way. And again, you'll meet some of them, as you already have, the cast. This was such an unusual situation for me. I met these actors and this family, and they pulled me through this story, and they all lived through the war, and some of them were soldiers during the war, some of them were children during the war, they were wounded during the war, they taught me, and they led me through this, and we did this together. So it's a family that made this film. It's not me.